Namaste. Welcome to our last day of My Father Knew the Secret. I'm going to make it our last day, even if we don't kind of go through it. I know I'm a few minutes late because, as you would know it, I'm just ready to go hit that live and ding dong. I'm like, what the heck? So I had to go and answer the door and tend to some different business. But I'm looking forward to finishing this. We are rounding it off. We are on our last few pages. We're picking it up, which is one of my favorite topics. Impression of increase, page 325. Oh, and before I forget, I had someone ask me, because I seen in a different video or wherever I'm streaming to, which is YouTube, Quantum Connections, and the Quantum Academy. They saw me putting on some oils before I started. And yes, I use essential oils. I use Young Living. I'm not here to promote them in any way. I definitely use them for myself. And I do promote them, but that was my past life. And I still use them. And what I use always when I go on a live is Valor. I just put it on my earlobes and around my neck. And then surprisingly, I actually use a Kid Sense. It's called Genius. And I put it on the back of my neck. And what that helps me do, I believe, is helps with the energy flow, and so that my thoughts are in order and that I don't get too much on a rabbit trail or a tangent. So on that note, let's open our books to page 325, Impression of Increase. Quote, "You should stand out like a beacon in a dark night. Think about what kind of a positive influence you want to be in this world." Unquote, Bob Proctor. When selling real estate in the late 1980s, I attended a large real estate conference in Palm Springs. During the event, the speaker asked me to come up to the stage. I had no idea what this was about, and it really surprised me. I was unprepared. Once on stage, I asked why I was asked why I thought I was so successful in this business, and quite successful right out of the gate. I thought for a moment, and then it hit me. I had formed the habit of doing something my father had taught me when I was young. I was 9 years old and about to start the 4th grade when we moved to Chicago. Look at how, oh, right there. I'm all fogged up. Pardon me for just a minute. I don't know why. Oh, it's because I was running up and down the stairs. There we go. I'm good. I was 9 years old and about to start 4th grade when we moved to Chicago. We had already moved several times in my young life, from Toronto to London and back to a different area in Toronto. And I was apprehensive about being the new kid once again. I was worried about how I would fit in. I remember speaking with Dad about this in the den of our new home in Maplewood Lane in Glenview, Illinois. The advice he gave me all those years ago continues to affect how I treat and talk to people today. The lesson I learned that day was that he referred to as the impression of increase. It's about leaving everyone you interact with feeling better than they were in your presence. Dad suggested that beginning on my first day at my new school, whenever I had the opportunity to speak to someone, I should use my imagination and see 4 letters across their forehead. MMFI. Make me feel important. That acronym was to serve as a reminder to me to be present and interested. He would say, it's a whole lot better to be interested than it is to be interesting. He encouraged me to make eye contact and ask meaningful questions when I spoke with anyone. And he said that I needed to be genuine. And the only way to do that was to focus on the other person and not think about what I wanted to say next about myself. He explained what setting my ego aside meant, and that my turn to be seen would come when I put the other person at ease. He said, Brian, there is good in everyone. Sometimes you must look a little harder with certain people, but it's always there. And if you look for it, you'll see it. And when you do see it, know that what you're seeing is a reflection of the good that's in you. When I practiced this intention, I noticed right away that I was making friends easily and that people were comfortable in my presence. So when I was asked that day on stage what I thought had made me so successful, it was suddenly so obvious to me. It was that day in the den with Dad when I was 9 years old. The tool he gave me really made sense to me. And since that day, MMFI has shaped my way of being. It is how I automatically operate. I realized that day on stage that it was the reason for my instant and sustaining success in the real estate world and throughout my life. And with that realization, I decided to make it my mission to use the impression of increase with intention. Up to that point, I had been using it as an unconscious component. I using it as an unconscious component, and I knew I could harness its strength by consciously using MMFI. To be successful at this, you must want the same for everybody that you want for yourself. And to do this authentically, you need to have respect for and love yourself. The importance of self love is weaved throughout this book. That is intentional. I was taught that self love is one of the most important things you'll ever do. By understanding, appreciating, and loving who you are, you will develop respect for yourself. You will discover just how interesting, creative, and lovable you are, which will change your life. And when you change your life, you change the lives of those around you. The more we can love ourselves, the easier it is to love and accept others. It is easier to succeed at something if we have that base. Consider self-love is your foundation from which everything else is built. The chatter in your mind will become more loving and patient as you practice being kind to yourself. What do you commit to doing that will make the people you encounter today feel better because they were in your presence? This does not need to be complicated, yet you may notice right away that despite the simplicity of these suggestions, they still may be challenging. Take notice of that challenge. Don't judge yourself. Just notice where you have difficulties and know that this is an area in your life that needs more discipline and practice. Everyone wants to feel seen. And by using MMFI exercise, you could make a difference in someone's life today. Make eye contact. Smile. Put your phone away. Don't look around the room. Listen. Ask questions. Sometimes it can be as simple as giving a genuine compliment that shows you noticed. Don't interrupt. When you practice MMFI, listen with genuine curiosity, speak honestly, and act with integrity. Giver's gain. This is interesting because my husband was in BNI, and that is their motto that they go by, giver's gain. Quote, willingly give and graciously receive. What you do to and for another, you do to and for yourself. End quote, Bob Proctor. Are you a good giver? This is a question you would often hear Bob Proctor ask. When I would watch Dad willingly give to people, you could see them struggle to receive his generosity. And he would use that opportunity of awkwardness to point out that to be a good receiver, you also must be a good giver. There are two sides of the same. They are two sides of the same thing. This would often get me and anyone else. Oh my goodness, I have a day of distractions today. I'm sorry if you could hear that vibration. That's my phone. Now my dog's barking. Pardon me. This would often get me and anyone else who is asked the question thinking, am I a good giver? Do I willingly give my time, energy, resources, and attention? Giving was a way of life for my father, and he never expected anything from the people he gave to. He said that would be trading. So instead, he would say that good will return when you put good into the universe. And you never know where that good will come from, but it will come. He had an unshakable understanding of this principle. There was a book written by John David Mann and Bob Burke, The Go-Giver. Rumor was that the character Pindar in this book was based on my father. And when I read the book, I agreed Pindar could very well be Bob Proctor. Dad spent his life living the philosophy that givers gain. His example changed many lives. One morning while talking with Dad, I asked him about the concept of giving. This is something that he was so incredibly good at. His response was simple and something that I had heard my entire life. Here is his answer for word. Quote, giving is one of the laws of the universe. You've got to willingly give and graciously receive. If you have to think before you give, you are trading. You are not giving. When you give to someone else, you create an energy that will come back. You may not know where that good will come from, but it will come. Increase is, without question, the natural urge of life seeking expression. So when you are honestly attempting to leave everyone with more and better, people will quickly realize that by associating with you, they feel better. And what you are doing to and for others, you are doing to and for yourself. Loving others is also loving yourself. I have a good idea of why my father was such a good giver. He learned by example from his mother. I have a good when he was a young boy during World War II, there were only a few men around, as most of them were off fighting. My father, his sister, and his brother lived with their mother and grandmother in the neighborhood of Toronto, where their money was tight. Most people were just getting by. Dad often shared a story about returning home from school one day and telling his mother about a family down the street that had run out of coal. They had no money to buy more. It was the dead of winter in Toronto, and most homes in the 1940s were heated with coal. Running out of coal would be dangerous in those winter temperatures. My grandmother did not know who this family was, but the first thing she did was go to the can on top of the refrigerator, where she kept the little money she had. She gave a $20 bill to Dad and told him to go to the corner store and get it changed into 2 tens, and to give the family $10 so they could go buy a ton of coal to heat their home. She did not have much money, and that $10 would have done a lot to help her own family. Yet she was willing to help a family she didn't even know. Witnessing this selfless act as a young boy gave my father a glimpse of what it means to truly give. That $10 made a real difference for that family. His mother's act touched something inside of him that left an impression that lasted his entire life. That loving generosity is something that came to define my dad. If you were to ask anyone close to Bob Proctor to describe him, the word generous, in one form or another, would be used. Dad taught me to live with a giving heart and treat others with kindness, not because you are kind-hearted, not because they are kind-hearted, but because I am. You can choose to live this way too. As you think about giving and receiving, I would like to share with you a message that my father sent to my wife, Corey, in 2014. My father asked Corey to read this note every day when she woke. You may see yourself in this message. Perhaps his words will help you too. Quote, Corey, I woke up thinking of you. I was thinking, you are a great mother. And then I thought, you approach everything the same way. You make certain all of your responsibilities are done exceptionally well. I also believe you do not permit the universe to properly reward you. You are a truly exceptional woman, Corey, and I would like you to expect wonderful things to come into your life. Expect every aspect of your life to turn out as good as your children. You wanted them to turn out really well, and you expected it to happen. I can tell that way by the way you speak of Emma and Spencer. But on the occasions when I wanted to give you something, it was obvious that you found it difficult to accept it. I would love to see you become more aware of what a truly wonderful person you are and begin to expect the universe to openly reward you. You do willingly give so much, but you do not graciously receive. It's almost as if your thoughts go to, oh no, No, I don't deserve that. You are a wonderful person. Know that and expect greater good in your life. These are my thoughts, Corey, and I wanted you to know. You are already aware that I am always right on these hidden matters with a winky face. I imagine you waking up, reading my message, and letting it sink in, causing you to become more aware of your tremendous inner good. Open up to all the good things waiting for you. Expect an abundance. You must start to see what is so obvious to me. You must work at altering this paradigm. Take a few minutes each day before you get going. Sit quietly and do your gratitude at the top of the list. Be grateful for the awareness of the sheer beauty that shines from you. Dwell on that and give thanks for it. End quote. Bob Proctor. What a touching message, especially to receive from Bob. Woo! Consider, are you a good giver? When you give, you will gain by keeping it about your connection to people rather than from a desire to feel good about yourself. As you give, you will see the flow return to you in unexpected ways, and your faith in this natural, lawful process will grow. Are you a good receiver? Giving and receiving are companion energies that take turns throughout our lives, and we all get a chance to be on both sides of that exchange. When you graciously receive, it is like a dance, choreographed by universal laws. When you cannot graciously receive, you are robbing the giver of the opportunity of giving. Notice how you feel when someone unexpectedly gives to you. Think of a time you have offered support to someone. How did it make you feel? Did you make an authentic heart-to-heart contact? When you feel this connection, you are connecting with human experience. Imagine having more of that feeling. There are many ways to give. You can give in countless ways to add value to people's lives. Here are 6 of them. 1. Send thoughts of kindness, compassion, and goodwill to people who need it. 2. Make a phone call and check in. 3. Smile at everyone you see. 4. Give away things you no longer use. 5. Offer a free service to provide for others. 6. Volunteer your time for those in need. You can undoubtedly think of many more ways to improve another person's day. Make your own list and pay attention to where you can add value. What legacy do you want to leave? Ultimately, you will be known for something. What do you want that to be? What would you like to do for others? Service towards something beyond ourselves gives our life meaning and brings it into balance. To have true fulfillment, we must continue to grow and be willing to make life about more than just ourselves. Gina, page 340. Quote, Gina Hayden is the one that kept me in line. I could not have done this without her. End quote, Bob Proctor. This book would not be complete without you hearing from this extraordinary woman. Gina Hayden worked side by side with my father for over 36 years. She's like a sister to me, and I'm honored to call her a dear friend. Why do I bring her up? For 2 reasons. First and foremost, Gina, more than ever anyone, helped Bob Proctor craft his message for most of his career, and together they developed many of Dad's programs that we all enjoy today. Secondly, it is no mistake that she stood by Dad's side for such a long period of time. You would often hear him say from the stage, if you are in business and want to be more productive and have success, then you need to get a Gina. Over the years, I can think of many people who would come to us and say, I found my Gina. What does that mean? Dad believed that to be highly effective, you need to have someone by your side who can get things done. Gina was that person for Dad. She is undoubtedly one of the most organized and effective individuals I've ever met. Gina and Dad became very close over those 36 plus years together. So close that when Gina got married, he walked her down the aisle and gave her away. That was a beautiful moment to witness. As you can imagine, Gina could have moved on to do just about anything she wanted at that point during those 36 years, but instead she chose to stay and work with Bob Proctor. That is a testament to the way he treated people, and especially the way he treated her. When I asked Gina if she would write a piece to include here, her eyes were welled with tears. You see, Gina is a part of our family, and like all of us, her life was profoundly shaped by having Bob Proctor in it, and more than anyone, by working so closely with him. Gina's perspective is unique. She watched Bob Proctor's mind work and witnessed the process of how his creative genius unfolded. There's a great picture of Bob and her at her wedding. It's a beautiful picture. Super smiles. Okay, I've never read this. Like I said, I've never read this book before you guys, so I'm just going to take a whiff of Valor. Okay. I'm kidding. Just gives me a little bit more strength and courage. We're going to get through this. It's entitled My Bob. To have been asked to write this piece means more than I can express. Bob Proctor earned an international reputation as one of the foremost thinkers of our time. He traveled the world teaching people how to be more, do more, have more, and give more. But I think what he did better than anyone else, he taught people that abundance was their birthright, and that life is to be enjoyed without guilt or judgment, and that it is to be lived in gratitude for everything we have. By way of introduction, I met Bob Proctor in 1985 when I was working in Toronto. Our board of directors had asked Bob to help us fundraise for our gymnastics club. Bob's niece was a gymnast with one of our competitive clubs. Bob quickly agreed. I don't remember meeting him at the event, but he personally autographed a book for each of the staff. And at that stage in my life, I didn't know any authors, and I surely didn't have any autographed books. We raised a lot of money because of the work Bob Proctor did for us, and later I found out that he had donated all of his time for the 3 sessions of, quote, an evening with Bob Proctor. Little did I know that this was the beginning of a beautiful relationship. In July 1986, I received an SOS from the gentleman who had helped bring Bob Proctor to our gymnastics community the night before, and subsequently went to work with Bob. I was in between jobs, and he asked if I would like to come in to cover for someone. I suggested that I come in for a few weeks until they were able to hire someone for the position. Well, 2 weeks turned into 36 and a half years. It's only in retrospect that I realize how extraordinary Bob was. And though I witnessed his humanity, kindness, and selflessness over the years, he was just my Bob. He was everything in a bag of chips. The next several paragraphs are a few of the lessons I took in along the way. Bob taught by example. Number 1, you can't give too much. I don't know that I ever knew Bob to turn down an opportunity to help someone in need. I need to preface this because we, as staff of his company, had to turn down many requests on Bob's behalf over the years. But if you happened to get in through the gates and spoke to Bob directly, his natural response would have been yes. Make your mark on the world, which is number 2. Bob was a bit of a unicorn in that he spoke about a lot of things that were thought by many to be off limits. He spoke openly about money and suggested it was a poor master, but a great servant. I like that. I'm going to write that on my board. Money is a poor master, but a great servant. He taught us that sex was a creative urge, but that it could be quite destructive if you didn't harness that creative power. And God, he was speaking about God, spirit, and energy back in the 70s when it was not a topic of discussion in companies. He paved the road for a lot of speakers, just as his mentor Earl Nightingale did for him. He was a trailblazer. Number 3, treat yourself well. I learned quickly that it was best to sit in the front of the plane in the back of the car, and Bob offered me the opportunity to do that. Even in the early days when the company was struggling, I stayed where he stayed. I did not have a per diem. We ate together, and he always insisted I order whatever I wanted. That, was foreign to me. I think sometimes he ordered something expensive, so my item seemed paltry, even though it probably cost more than my whole family would have spent for a dinner out. Sorry, I'm just trying to follow my line. Number 4, treat others as you wish to be treated. You may look and act differently and have more or less money, but when it comes down to it, we're pretty much the same. It was an absolute joy to observe Bob. I learned so much. I watched how he was with people he knew and those he didn't. He always appeared interested, friendly, and respectful. When we worked in hotels, he had the full cooperation and respect of all the hotel staff, the bellmen, the kitchen staff, the servers, the banquet captains, and whomever else we were dealing with. He always said please and thank you and made time for people. When we were working at a venue, anywhere in the world, the hotel staff went out of their way to get him anything he wanted, which made my job a heck of a lot easier. Number 5, a pro is at their best regardless. This was Bob's credo. I remember an event in Los Angeles. It was a sold-out venue, and the room was packed. Bob was in his mid-80s at the time. He was walking up the stairs to get back on the stage when he tripped and fell. It would have been easy for him to make a joke to lighten the mood, but he didn't. Instead, he got up, collected his thoughts, and continued with his slides as if nothing had happened. I will never forget it. It was strength with style personified. 6, what I want for myself, I want for others. Bob enjoyed nice things. He wore suits, tailored suits, custom-made shoes and shirts, and always carried a good pen with him. He loved the way these things made him feel, but what he loved even more was giving his staff and those close to him with the same things that made him happy. I think his tailor-made suits for our sales team that then he made for Bob. I think his tailor-made suits were for our sales team than he made for Bob himself. In short, Bob was the man who showed the world. He wasn't perfect, but he walked his talk. He expected an abundant life, and he received it graciously. To close, I want to share a story with you that I will never forget. We were in Los Angeles driving to the TV station as Bob and other teachers from The Secret were going to be featured on Larry King Live. For me, this was a big deal. I looked at him and said, "Are you nervous?" He laughed and said, "Confidence is not something I lack." And then in the next breath, he said, "I have been waiting for this my whole life." Bob always expected great things were going to happen to him. I still have the Larry King Live mug he received from the show that he gave to me. He was a rock star that night. Bob Proctor, you led an extraordinary life, and I learn from you every single day. I miss you, my friend, Gina Hayden. Larry King Live, Bob and Larry. Nice. We are just about at the end. It says, in fact, chapter 13, the end. Like I said, I'm going to go until the end. My Bob. And I just flipped back. It's time to take action. Quote, discipline is the ability to give yourself a command and follow it. Bob Proctor. At the book's beginning, I asked, what will happen in your life if you show up as the best version of yourself? It is time to reflect on that question again. I have had great successes in my life and my fair share of failures as well. And for as long as I can remember, it was my father who kept me on track. He would say to me, do what you can today. You can't change what happened yesterday. Yesterday was decided based on the information you had at the moment. Tomorrow is the future. What you have is right now. So it doesn't matter whether your past is a story of success or failure. What matters is how you show up in the moments in front of you. Know your strengths, love yourself, and have an image of where you want to go as a person and contributor to this world. When I was young and I would achieve great success, it would bother me that after saying congratulations, the first thing Dad would ask me was, what's next? He never made a big deal of my success. Instead, he kept me focused on the moment and reaching forward. As an adult, when he asked me that question, I realized it was my ego that wanted the recognition. He was right. Keep looking and moving forward because living this way will get you through the times of great difficulty. Don't risk getting stuck in a single moment of glory. Instead, choose growth. Enjoy your moment, set a new goal, and look for where you can provide service and value. Focus forward. Make that who you are. You continue growing by committing to a life of study and taking action in the knowledge you are gaining. Stay curious. Dad would often quote Billy Graham. Quote, the smallest package in the world is the person that's all wrapped up in themselves. People who are most successful are the ones who really care about other people. End quote. He would remind me of this to ensure I always kept the main thing, helping others. It is also essential to look at the good around you. Thank yourself for how far you've come. Be grateful for yourself and harness the belief that you can go as far as you desire. Personal growth has no finish line. Stretching for improvement keeps us energetic. It keeps us alive and relevant. Each day holds an unlimited number of possibilities, and small steps add up to significant accomplishments. The book you are reading is an excellent example of that. I did not sit down and write it all at once. I simply did a little each day, and those days added up until I felt that I had something worth sharing. When my father wrote, "You were born rich," he did so by getting up an hour earlier each day and writing for an hour. Those single-hour increments added up to over 9 40-hour work weeks of focused attention in just 1 year. Not long ago, Peggy McCall was holding an event in Sarasota, Florida. She asked me to come and share some stories from stage. She specifically wanted me to share lessons I learned while growing up with Bob Proctor. I mention this now because we're talking about taking action. As I was on the stage, something I had never shared before came out of me. Quote, sometimes it is more important to take imperfect action than to plan for perfection. End quote. That's beautiful. I have seen so many people plan and plan and plan and plan, but never step out and do it. Yet I have seen others willing to step up and take imperfect action and accomplish greatness. Risking failure with imperfect action will, risking failure with imperfect action can be a beautiful part of the process. It's funny how your eyes sometimes just stop and they want to read something that's not there and you know it, and follow my drift. Anyway, rewards in life are usually closer than you think. You will instinctively know when you are on the right track with an idea because you will feel it. Feeling is the language of the subconscious mind. And when you reach that point, you will know you have planted the idea into your subconscious mind. Bob Proctor was known for making decisions quickly. He would promptly take the first step and plan the rest as it unfolded. Of course, it didn't always work out for him, but many times it did, and it worked out very well. He would have been the first to tell you that his failure stories were as important as his success stories. Dale Carnegie summed it up nicely when he said, "Inaction breeds doubt and fear. Action breeds confidence and courage. If you want to conquer fear, do not sit at home and think about it. Get out and get busy." I hope you have found something in this book that has resonated with you or sparked a desire that encourages you to stretch for new heights. My goal with this book has been to help you in any small way or significant way to live a better life, but also it is a way for me to honor the incredible man that was my father. The spirit never dies. Tap into the wisdom of Bob Proctor. Do like I do. Sit in a quiet space and ask him questions. Before I say goodbye for now, I want to share one last thing with you. In the chapter Father's Day, I wrote about the day we placed Dad's urn into its final resting space. As you can imagine, choosing a quote to forever live on the stone marking his resting place was no simple task. Dad loved quotes and believed they carried tremendous meaning and power. However, we landed on one that is perfect. Proctor, Robert Bob Corlett, July 5th, 1934 to February 3rd, 2022. Quote, "The great use of life is to spend it for something that will outlast us, or outlast it." Isn't that beautiful? William James is the quote. The great use of life is to spend it for something that will outlast it. William James. That is perfect. He's right. Absolutely perfect. Our last moments to consider, page 355. What can you do today to bring you closer to your goal? If you're serious about wanting significant changes in your life, you need to take action. Even if it is only 10 minutes, it all adds up. And when you feel good about yourself, you end up being more, doing more, and having more. The universe is willing to give you whatever you want. So stay in harmony with it by staying focused and taking small steps each day. The following question was asked at the beginning of this book. I hope by reading these pages, it is a question that you have now given some serious thought to. Life is too short to show up as anything other than our best. I also hope that by reading these pages, you understand that you are capable of so much more than you have allowed yourself to imagine. Changes come from within, and that it is the same for all of us. We are all works in progress. So the question I pose to you, and my final words before I end this live, is what was asked to us in the beginning. What will happen in your life if you show up as the best version of yourself? Thank you for joining me on this amazing journey. An incredible book that I will personally read again myself with a highlighter pen. Take notes. Apply those things in my life. Take action. Feel your way through life. If it feels good, you're on the right path. If you don't feel good, exit stage left and find that feeling. Thank you. We will see you on the next live. I am planning a training session next, and we'll see you really shortly in September, kind of back to school. Bye.